Hello! Because of overpopulation and lack of resources in the not-too-distant future, a crisis occurs. In response, the UN demands that countries reduce their populations by 5%. In the US every year, a test is conducted among school children, and those with the lowest scores are executed. The children of bureaucrats and the rich, as well as the most ordinary girls and boys, must go through the thinning. But things are not as fair as they seem at first glance. In the city of Austin, Texas, a girl named Lena is trying to get her younger brother Simon ready for the thinning, which begins in 18 hours. Their younger siblings, Corrine and Joey, are playing on the bed without a care in the world. Mentoring Simon brings no results, so Lena gives him electronic lenses with answers to the questions. Suddenly, the girl receives a call from a doctor who informs her that her mother wants to be released from the hospital, even though she is seriously ill, and they must continue the treatment. Lena rushes to meet her mother.
Mom, you need to be here. They can't treat you at home. I know.
The doctor takes Lena aside and tells her that the woman's condition has greatly worsened. The treatment is not working, so it's best to just make the mother's last days comfortable. 12 hours remain before the test. At the governor's mansion, his son Blake sneaks out of the building past the bodyguards and makes his way out to the car. His girlfriend Ellie is hiding inside and scares Blake from the darkness of the back seat. She laughs, saying that he has fallen for this trick for the umpteenth time. But the guy suddenly grows gloomy. This time may be his last.
Ellie, no matter what happens,
I didn't come here to talk about the test.
Instead of having a hard conversation, Ellie drags the man after her to someone else's house with a pool, where they go for a swim. As they kiss in the car, Ellie confesses that she is very scared. This is when Vince, one of the governor's bodyguards, catches them and returns Blake to his father. Redding scolds his son and reminds him of the exam tomorrow. He promises that if Blake concentrates on the test, which will determine his future, he will be able to do what he wants and with whom he wants afterwards. At last, the father hugs his son. 3 hours before the thinning, guards patrol the school surrounded by fences, barbed wire, and cameras. The students are marching in a tight line, and Simon gets shoved in the back so that his lens flies out of his eye and he can't find it. The guard suspects something and orders him to keep moving. The guy obeys and goes to the exam without the clues. The students say goodbye to their parents at the school entrance and line up to go through the final inspection. Blake approaches Lena and asks for the cheating device, but the girl explains that she has already given out her last lens. Keelan, a friend of Lena's, gets in line and asks about their relationship with Blake, but the girl insists that she hardly knows him. At this point, one of the guys gets caught with a cheat sheet on his forearm and tries to escape, but is chased down and trapped in a net. Keelan uses access to his father's security system to get the surveillance camera footage. He then emails the videos to the journalist, Wendy Banks. At school, Blake tries to comfort Ellie, who is shaking from fear. 15 minutes before the start, all entrances and exits of the school are blocked off by iron gates. The students gather in their classrooms, where teachers explain the rules.
As you know, all grades are final. Pick up your tablets and begin.
The lights in the classroom are dimmed, and the students start solving assignments on electronic tablets. 2 hours fly by, and while the adults are calculating the results, the teenagers feel terribly stressed, fidgeting in their seats, crying, and clutching their heads. The anxious wait comes to an end, and the teachers begin to read out loud the names of the students who failed the test, and the guards escort them out under their arms. Some try to resist or flee, but all attempts are futile. Keelan is almost sure that he will be taken, but the boy gets lucky. Ellie, though, is taken right before Blake's eyes. The rest of the students are congratulated on their success and released to the break room. Blake calls his father to ask him to use his connections to save Ellie, but the governor insists on obeying the law. Blake gets angry and hangs up, and Lena sees her brother Simon being taken away with the rest of the flunkies. Blake catches up with the convoy, grabs a fire extinguisher from the wall, and attacks the guards. This gives Ellie time to escape, and she runs to her classmates. Nobody helps her. Blake is detained, and the girl is taken away by the guard. A year goes by. The next test is 24 hours away. Athlete Wade demonstrates his American football skills instead of preparing for the test, and the girl Sarah goes to school and seduces the teacher, Mr. Glass, who will conduct the test with the high school students there. Miss Birch notices the student getting out of Glass's car. Lena plays with Joey and Corrine in a house with boxes full of their mother's things. She has passed away this year. Miss Birch visits them and brings them a casserole. She tries to encourage Lena, for her little sister will be taking her first deadly test tomorrow. The teacher says she will help in any way she can. Meanwhile, Blake is working out in his room. He still has a picture of Ellie hanging on the wall. The boy turns on the camera and starts recording, saying that if anyone is watching this, he is no longer alive. As parents take their children to their first thinning, Lena cheers up Kareen.
You're going to do great. I love you so much.
I love you too.
At this time, Governor Redding is preparing for a public appearance and stops by to check on his son before the exam. The man tries to convince him that his girlfriend failed the test and nothing could be done to save her, but Blake is not satisfied with this answer. The boy leaves for school, and bodyguard Vince notices him putting a letter in the mailbox on the way. Lena and Keelan once again meet in front of the school entrance. Their last, the thinning, before graduation is coming up. Keelan runs into athlete Wade, who bullies another teenager along the way. The friends wonder why he still hasn't failed a test even though the guy hasn't taken a class in years. The teacher, Miss Cole, shows Kareen and her classmates a video explaining the necessities for the test. She is sickened at the realization that some of the children will be killed. The cartoon, with the logo of a Shuru Global, tells the story of an Earth that suffered and was sick until all countries began to control their population. Somewhere, they say goodbye to the elderly. Somewhere, they forbid having more than one child. And in the USA, they have decided to let only the smartest children live. Redding receives the tape Blake tried to send. The boy intends to fail the test on purpose to see if his father will support this terrible system even after it kills his own son.
We can't get
I want my son home now.
Testing's already begun. The school's on complete lockdown.
God damn it, God damn it!
The governor is not going to stand idly by, and the chief of security, Mason, receives a call. Both younger and older students begin the test. Sarah looks at the teacher, hoping he remembers what she did for the passing grade. Mr. Glass does not look back at her. A little boy, Nathan, raises his hand, asking for help with one question, but Miss Cole turns him down so that everyone is on an equal footing. When the test is over, she asks the students to stand up and follow the guard if their name is called. When the names of those who failed the test are read out, Nathan turns out to be one of them.
Foster.
Sarah's plan didn't work, and the final name, Lena Michaels, is called after her. Blake is shocked that his name has not been called, and Mason calls the governor, informing him that his son is safe, and asks permission to begin the procedure, to which Redding agrees. Miss Birch follows Lena and tries to convince the guards that she is the best student in the class and could only fail the test because of technical problems with the tablets. This doesn't work, and before the girl is taken away, Miss Birch manages to sneak a magnetic key into her hand. In the break room, the students are congratulated on passing the test. They eat and dance to music, while Keelan's father is relieved to see his son appear on the camera. And Miss Birch rolls her eyes at the cheeky way Mr. Glass is flirting with yet another student. Governor Redding takes the stage for his election speech. He talks about what indicators have improved during his tenure, and that he is especially proud of the best level of education in the country. Blake hears his father on TV and walks into the hallway in disgust, while the governor goes on to say that the thinning is not a barbaric practice, and that America has made splendid reforms in the last 25 years. The teenagers who have failed the test are brought into the room where people start to examine them. They are treated like cattle and ordered to take off their clothes.
And do you know what we do with parasites? We wash them out!
Lena hides the magnetic key in her mouth, and Blake approaches the guarded halls. He knocks out one of the guards and makes his way into the control room. Keelan sees on camera how the losers are given new clothes and handcuffed to chairs in another room. The guards pull out syringes filled with murky liquid, and while Blake's father announces his candidacy for president to the entire country, the kid cuts all the electricity in the school, saving the students from the injections. Mason discovers the unconscious guard, and the students, who have been sent to the thinning, riot. Lena escapes during the chaos by unlocking the door with Miss Birch's key. The guards quell the riot of flunkies and put them back in their chairs. It is discovered that Lena has escaped. At this time, another guard on the floor notices her, but she introduces herself as Miss Birch and shows the key. The guard is suspicious of her due to her prisoner-like clothing, and as soon as he turns his back on her, Lena attacks him. The man throws her off, and the girl is rescued by Blake, who happened to be nearby. The guy reveals to Lena that he tried to fail the exam on purpose, but his father intervened. Blake tries to open the doors, but the alarm goes off, and Mason demands that the exits of the school be blocked off, despite the parents' displeasure. The fugitives climb into a ventilation shaft to hide. While they are thinking of a plan of action, Blake disapproves of the girl for selling lenses with answers to the test.
Innocent kids are killed to meet a bottom line, and you found a way to profit off them.
He asks her if she used the money to buy a cool car or dress, but Lena replies that she paid for her mother's treatment, which didn't work anyway. Blake realizes he was wrong and apologizes. Lena confesses that she was once jealous of his girlfriend Ellie. Together, they start heading along the cables towards the server room. Mason is reported about the episode with the teacher's key that Lena showed, and he lines up all the teachers for inspection. The governor learns of the incident and tries to control the panic in the media. Blake and Lena keep crawling, when suddenly the boy falls through the vent and flies into the school pool. He loses consciousness, and Lena jumps in after him, pulls Blake from the bottom, and resuscitates him. They find dry clothes in the lockers and change, flirting with each other in the process. The teenagers who pass the exam begin to complain about being locked up, and the most arrogant of them gets beaten up by a security guard. Keelan films it on his phone and sends it to the reporter again. Lena and Blake see the door to the server room through the bars, but the magnetic key falls out of Lena's pocket and falls down next to the guards. Fortunately, they don't notice it in the dark, and Blake covers the girl's mouth so she doesn't cry out in frustration. They go down to the biology classroom next door, where Lena finds a magnet and wire to pull the key from the ground. A guard arrives at the noise, and Blake doesn't have time to climb back into the shaft. Lena manages to pick up the key, while Blake engages in another fight. He wins again, swaps clothes with the guard, and splits with Lena to free the others. In the waiting room, Miss Birch offers Mr. Glass a drink together after so much stress.
I have to warn you, I get a little handsy when I drink.
She steals his magnetic key, and all suspicion falls on Glass. Mason starts beating the evidence out of him with bare fists. Lena goes to the server room and tries to log in, but a password is required. The girl texts Keelan, asking him to find the video of Mason entering the code on the cameras. When the lights come back on at the school, Keelan replies to Lena and helps her figure out the password. The girl checks Kareen's results and is relieved to see that her sister has passed. Then she checks her score and finds that she got a 98%, but someone gave her a fail. Meanwhile, Wade only got 42% and Blake got 50%. She also checks Ellie's last year's grade and sees that they failed her, even though she scored enough. Meanwhile, on the breaking news, Governor Redding reports that Lena, having failed the test, has escaped and killed 2 guards. Meanwhile, the journalist Wendy receives Keelan's video of a security guard beating a schoolboy, and she realizes that what actually happens doesn't match the official story. She airs the material, followed by Lena sending her friend screenshots of the test results and unfair verdicts. At this point, Mason sees her on the cameras. Blake finds the prisoners' rooms and orders the guards to take them somewhere else. This doesn't work, and the guy has to fight again. Lena is caught and brought to the other prisoners, where she discovers that Blake has failed to free them and is held captive in the corner of the room. Keelan manages to forward Lena's letter, and Wendy goes on an emergency broadcast to report the falsified results. She reveals that Lena got the highest score in the school, while Blake, the governor's son, got the lowest, but remained unpunished. The news makes headlines, and Redding's reputation is in danger.
Or you won't have enough money to run for city controller.
The governor orders Mason to review the list and release Lena and a couple of other prisoners.
Congratulations, you've passed.
The girl kisses Blake and tries to bring him with her, but she is taken out of the room and Blake is put in her place. Wade, the athlete, suffers the same fate. The guards give injections to the hysterical students and they lose consciousness. The school finally opens, allowing the families to reunite or learn the disappointing news. Lena meets her younger sister and hugs Kareen with tears in her eyes. Soon, they are joined by their savior, Miss Birch. And nearby, Keelan hugs his father. The scapegoat in the story of the switch results is Mason. Suspicions of the governor's involvement were dismissed after it was discovered that his son had been subjected to the thinning after all.
The laws apply to all of us. It just doesn't make it any easier.
Redding declares that he is not a hypocrite, and his son died with the rest of the flunked students for America's great future. Later, a large truck approaches a restricted area. Within it is a factory, where instead of being executed, the flunkies, including Blake, are brought in. The school children are used as slaves to manufacture tablets on which tests are conducted. One of the girls removes her mask, and Blake recognizes her as his girlfriend, Ellie. As always, look for the name of the movie in the video description. In the meantime, let us know in the comments, do you think testing systems are fair in general? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video so that more awesome stories come out as often as possible.